So I know that it's easy to feel overwhelmed, maybe embarrassed or upset at our child when their teacher approaches us about their misbehavior in the classroom. And what I want you to remember is that there are so many different reasons why a child could be struggling to make good choices at school. Whether it's issues with impulse control, frustration tolerance, communication, social skills like taking turns or asking for what they want and need, to a lack of connection with their teacher, issues with learning or processing sensory information, or maybe it's an indication of inconsistent boundaries in the classroom or confusing boundaries, or maybe internally there's something going on for your child, whether they're going through a big change in the family or processing a loss of someone they love, struggling with trauma or mental health. I mean, there's just so many different reasons that a child could be struggling to make good choices in the classroom. And so when their teacher approaches us about their misbehavior, I want you to slow down, breathe, and focus on gathering information so that you can better understand what's going on at school so that you can help support your child. Now, before we get into the questions to ask their teacher after they approach you, I want to quickly just let you know that I actually hosted a podcast mini-series called Breaking the Cycle, which was produced by the Skimm in partnership with Whirlpool to help spread awareness of their Care Counts laundry program, which was created by Whirlpool to address the hidden educational crisis that is chronic absenteeism. As a clinical psychologist, I've witnessed firsthand how impactful chronic absenteeism can be for children, their families, and the community at large. And as a mom of 2 school-age kids, this issue hits close to home. So by the end of this podcast series, you'll have a better understanding of how this issue impacts a student's social emotional learning experience, mental health, and ultimately their educational path. So you can tune into the series on the Skimm This feed wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're tuning in on YouTube, I'll also make sure to include the link down in the description. Okay, so your child's teacher just approached you about their misbehavior in the classroom. Here's what I want you to ask. Question number 1, what was happening before this behavior occurred? Or do you have an understanding of what might have triggered them to act in this way? So here's the thing about behavior. Behavior is just a symptom of a larger problem. So you want to try to get an understanding of the behavior in context, right? It's not enough to say, oh, well, they hit, or oh, they pushed their classmate, or oh, they yelled a profanity. I want you to try to understand, well, what was happening before the behavior so that you have a better understanding of what might have caused your child to respond in that way. Sure, the behavior is unacceptable, and we do want to work on helping them learn how to respond in healthier ways. But the first question I want you to try to ask your child's teacher is, what was happening before the behavior happened, so that you have a better understanding of the behavior in context. Remember, behavior is just the fire. Behavior is just a symptom. We want to understand it on a much deeper level. Okay, question number 2 is, how did you respond when they acted this way? And what was my child's response? So basically with question number 1 and question number 2, what you're gathering is what was happening before and what was happening after. This is going to help you understand the story of the behavior. Again, it's not enough to just know what happened. We need to know what happened in context. And remember that the way that adults respond to a child's behavior is going to influence them. So we want to understand, okay, well, what was the intervention? What was said? What was done? And ultimately, how did my child respond to the intervention that you provided? Again, just to gather more information about the behavior in context. Okay, question number 3 is, why do you think my child behaved in this way? So you want to kind of color this with, wow, like, thank you for coming to me with this. I'm glad that we're talking about this. We definitely need to work on this. And like, from your understanding, can you help me understand, why do you think my child responded in this way? I mean, you have so much more insight in the classroom climate and culture, and I just want to know your perspective. That's the angle you're coming at it from. Now, keep in mind, your child's teacher is not a counselor counselor, they're not a therapist, they're not a psychologist, but you just want to kind of try to pick their brain, because this one shows the teacher you take this seriously, and two, that you respect their opinion and perspective, and you want to know, like, what do they think, right? And you want to come at it very curiously, right? This is not a pop quiz, you know, you're not pressuring them, but you're honestly very curious, like, why do you think like they responded in this way? Do you have any ideas? I'm just trying to understand my child in a deeper way. Now, question number 4, you might already know this, but if you don't, I want you to ask, has my child ever responded in this way? Like, is this the first time they've done this, or have they done this in the past? And if this is a repeated behavior, I want you to try to get their sense of, well, is this behavior staying the same? Is it getting worse? Or does it appear like overall it's getting better? Like, if we zoom out and look at the behavior overall across time, again, these are the clues to help you understand the behavior in a deeper way. Okay, question number 5 is, well, what is the plan moving forward? Especially if you get the sense that, wow, this is a pattern across time. When we look at this behavior is persistent, it's continuing, maybe it's getting a little bit worse or pervasive or more intense. So you want to pick their brain. Okay, well, what is the plan moving forward? This is where you pivot the conversation to future, like problem solving. Okay, what can we do about this? Are there programs that the school can provide, additional resources? Do they need to be assessed by the school psychologist? Can they meet with the school counselor? This is where you start to problem solve. Okay, well, how can we best support my child so that they thrive at school? Okay, and question number 6, this one is really important, and this is overall how you build a partnership with their teacher, is you ask, how can I best support my child at home? Do you have any insight for me on what I can do, what resources I can take home with me to ultimately help build their skills, right? Once we've kind of understand the behavior and we've understood from the school perspective what they can do to help, now it's time to take ownership that you can also help as the parent. So ask them directly, what can I do to provide more support at home? How can we work in partnership? Because remember, it is best when all caregivers involved in a child's life is on the same page and doing similar things, so that the child gets similar messages across different environments. This is how we change the system. So we cannot just focus on what's happening at school. We have to focus on also how we can support our child at home. And I have so many resources on this channel available to you if you want a deeper dive into how to support their social, emotional, behavioral development ultimately. And keep in mind, this is a lot of questions, right? And sometimes it doesn't make sense to ask your child's teacher all of these questions all at once. Or sometimes it makes more sense, hey, I'm so glad you're coming to me with this. Can we set up a meeting so we have time to talk about this? Because this is really important to me and I want to make sure we don't feel rushed, because I want to do everything I can as a parent to help my child succeed. So, use your judgment whether or not it makes sense to schedule a longer meeting so that you have time to kind of go through these questions with them, because it's best if we can intervene early on behalf of the child and help support them so that this doesn't become a pervasive issue across their learning or across their school experience. So don't forget to tune into the podcast mini series hosted by me called Breaking the Cycle, all about the hidden educational crisis that is chronic absenteeism. You can tune into the series on the Skimm This feed wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're tuning in on YouTube, I'll be sure to have the link down in the description box. So let me know down in the comments, has this ever happened to you? Has your child's teacher ever approached you about their misbehavior in the classroom? And if so, how did those conversations go?